Each of the last 8 have been the player with the shortest odds on the winning team. 5 of them were favorites, and 3 of them were underdogs in the series. So it seems like if you can figure out who's going to win the series, you can figure out who's going to win Finals MVP. Let's have the conversation. Aaron, I'll start with you. Who do you like most in this market?
So earlier in the week, I was saying how I can't decide who's actually going to win this series, but I do think the Celtics will prevail. So then that comes down to, do you like Jason Tatum or potentially Jaylen Brown? I like Tatum in this spot. It's minus 120. I do think it will get longer if they win game 1, of course. But I am just a little bit hesitant and concerned. My one concern being Jaylen Brown won Eastern Conference Finals MVP despite Tatum being the first player since LeBron in 2015 with 30 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. And Brown still won this award. Now, they both averaged 30 points per game in that series, but we know these guys can yo-yo. The goal is to win the games, not win this specific award, so you never know which one is going to go off. But dependent upon who you like to win it all, of course, then you have to correlate that to the best player, and Jason Tatum is still the best player on the Boston Celtics.
So do you like the price of Tatum minus 120?
No, but I think he's going to win it. The question of, do I think he's going to win it? Yes.
Oh, I could have sworn that was going to be yes, which is why I'm making the bet, because I had a reason for why I was going to make you feel better there.
Well,
the Brown situation is cooked in, right? Yeah. So I want you to look at it like this. Tatum versus Brown, minus 120 and plus 650, okay? There's a 1 and there's a 1A, 2 stars. Now go over to the other side with Dallas. Luka's plus 200, Kyrie's 14-1. That's a massive gap. Does that reflect the difference in how good each player is? Not really. Kyrie's a little bit further off because, you know, he hasn't made that run like Brown did in the Eastern Conference Finals. They take that into account. They cook it into the price, so you have minus 120. So if you like minus 120, which I do, I would go ahead and play it. Okay. I think this is short. I like him to average a double-double in the series. I think the stats are going to be there. I like the Celtics to win the series. Jerry West is the only guy to ever win this award on a losing team, which was quite a long time ago for you young Bucks at home. And on top of that, while Brown's going to make a run at it, I think this is Tatum's time.
Brown also averaged more points per game when they played in the NBA Finals against the Warriors, which was interesting. Tatum really, he couldn't get it done there. So that always makes me a little bit nervous with that team, more specifically Tatum as well.
Part of the narrative he's trying to bust is that he came up short last time they were in the finals. Jason Tatum.
I'm sure he's hearing it all.
I'm hearing you guys like the Celtics in this series, and I think you guys are a little crazy. All right, I like the Mavericks.
Crazy is a tough adjective to say that you like the favorite.
Well, you're definitely crazy, but I think maybe you're just a little misguided, maybe, in your assessment of how this is going to play out. Luka Doncic is the best player in the series. I think we know that. I think the Mavs also have the best head coach in this series, and Jason Kidd. You can argue with the way they've played defense in the Western Conference postseason. They have the best defense, which is crazy because Boston had the best defense throughout the regular season. I just look at all these factors adding up, and the best player being on the Mavericks as the reason why I like the Mavericks to win. So rather than bet Dallas at plus 180 on the series price, just bet Luka Doncic at 2-1 in this market. Because what are the chances? I know you pointed out Kyrie may be a bit mispriced, but what are the chances that it's anyone but Luka Doncic doing Luka things to propel this team to a finals championship?
So, very rare, but this is smart on your behalf. Extremely rare. But I like this because the reality is you're going to put Dallas plus 180.
Right.
You're going to put Luka plus 200. Okay, so you get the better price on Luka. You laid all the good reasons why. Why is he plus 200? Why doesn't it match? Like last year, Jokic kind of matched with the Nuggets.
I don't know.
The answer would be Kyrie Irving, right? So if the answer is Kyrie Irving, why is he 14-1 and not 8-1? Like, that would be the thing. If Irving's going to affect this price to where Luka's series price or MVP price is going to be greater than the series price like this, okay, so be it. But why is Irving such a long shot then? I think that's the way you play it. If you like Dallas, you play Luka. His shot volume has been through the roof in the postseason at 22 per game. He's going to get his. Kyrie's going to play well, but I think there will be 1 or 2 off nights where Luka will stack it. And if you like him to win, that's the play.
And that would be where I stand, liking the Mavericks to win.
Rare moment from you.
We could get into the crazy part. I don't think it was too crazy, but all right.
We only have 53 minutes left in the show. Not enough times to put on the resume why I'm a crazy, but my mom will probably tweet about it. Anita Marks, welcome to the show. What is your take on this MVP market? Where do you stand?
Well, first things first, Tyler, I'm with you. I think Dallas wins this series, but Joe is right. Like, this is like that type of gambling analysis we hear from Joe, not you. So I'm like uber impressed with the way that you're selling Luka as an MVP. I'm with you.
That's enough of that.
I like him as an MVP as well. Again, I think Dallas is going to win. Therefore, you want to roll with somebody who's going to be on that team. And if they win, it's going to be because of Luka. There's no denying that. All due respect to the dude who's on my shirt right now, and that's Kyrie Irving. But Luka's the straw that stirs this drink, right? Shot 47% from the field, 43% from deep against arguably the best defense in the NBA against the Timberwolves. I mean, come on. Holiday, White, they're excellent defenders, but Luka's got the size and he's got the smarts to outperform them and get his. This will be his 45th career playoff game. He's already put up 1,400 points. He's just going to add to that in this series. So for me, I'm with you, Tyler. It's Luka. And I like what you're selling, my friend.
I like what you're giving back to me with that receipt. Anita, you will not be with us on tomorrow's show when we will officially dig into Game 1. So we want to give you the opportunity right now. If you had to make a play for Game 1 Thursday in Boston, 8:30 Eastern on ABC, what would it be?
Yeah, there's no really. I just spilt it all out, man. Not only do I think Dallas is going to win the series, but I believe that they win Game 1. So if I get Dallas plus I'm getting 6.5 points, yeah, I'll take that all day, right? 5-0 as a dog. More battle tested as well. We've been talking about it all day yesterday, how they're coming in. And really, I think battle tested to the point where they are going to be ready for Game 1, where I've got some question marks whether or not Boston will be, right? They've won also 7 of their last 9 road games. Also, probably my favorite play here, guys, is the over. How can you not love the over in this matchup? Neither of these teams really play outstanding defense. And these are 2 of the best 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. And Luka's coming in. He's had a week off to get fresh. That knee, I'm sure, is feeling great. So probably my favorite play here in tomorrow night's matchup is the over.
All right, guys. Well, it is time for Better Bet. Just Joe and I right now. We're going to do head-to-head props that are available right now on ESPN Bet. This is going to be a fun one. Okay, let's get into it. First one, Jaylen Brown or Kyrie Irving, who is going to score more points in this series?
Surprised at the pricing on this one to an extent. I know Irving's the bigger draw. I'd play Jaylen Brown here at even money. All right, think of it like this. They're both number 2 scoring options on their respective team, but so far this postseason, you've got Brown scoring 25 points per game to Irving's 22. That might seem close, but then look at it like this. Brown's played 40 or more minutes in just 4 of 14 playoff games. Irving's played 40 or more minutes in 10 of 17 playoff games. So not only am I scoring more with Brown, I'm not even playing as many minutes. In this series, it's going to be more comparable. The Derek White-Drew Holiday matchup on Kyrie Irving is going to be problematic. Jaylen Brown, that's a good price right there for that proposition.
I like it. I agree with you. I also think they're going to neutralize Kyrie Irving, so it makes more sense to take Jaylen Brown at plus 100. All right, let's keep it pushing here. More assists, Kyrie Irving or Drew Holiday. I'm going to go and take the lead on this one. I'm going to go with Kyrie Irving for the reasons that you just mentioned of how they're going to defend him. And then if you're thinking of the Dallas Mavericks, is your main focus going to be Drew Holiday? Probably not. The guy's just going to be able to put up probably some points, but I don't think he's going to be the biggest facilitator. Now, Irving and Holiday both so far in this postseason are averaging the same amount of assists. That's 5 per game, but we know that the minutes are going to be there with Kyrie Irving. So we go to Irving, minus 105.
I do not disagree. I would throw one note in there. Holiday's averaging just over 4 assists per game for the regular season, but in the 2 matchups against Dallas, he had 6 assists and 7 assists. It's a good matchup for him as a facilitator. Keep that in mind. That's why you're seeing the price at minus 135.
Okay, just disagree.
Not disagreeing, just supplementing.
No, just giving a stat dig. That's what we're going to start calling them. Stat digs. All right, more points in the series, Jason Tatum or Kyrie Irving?
All right, so I already like Brown against Irving. It would make sense to like Tatum against Irving as well. We've got to lay minus 190 here rather than even money, but we do get a player who's scoring more and shooting more in the postseason than Jaylen Brown is. The key is the floor for both players. If you look at Tatum this postseason, he scored at least 20 points in 12 of 14 playoff games. Very rare does he have a really bad night, which is going to affect your average. in a very short series of a maximum of 7 games. Meanwhile, Irving, 16 or fewer points in 5 of 17 playoff games.
Yep.
You have one bad night, it's really going to affect the average. So we're going to play the safe number here with Tatum at minus 190.
And a bad night for Tatum feels like 24 points when you're expecting him to have 30 plus and whatnot. But yes, between these two, obviously I would pick Jason Tatum, but at minus 190, it's not my favorite head-to-head matchup.
Worst postseason performance he had was 16 points. So we've got a nice high floor there.
Okay.
All right, what do we got?
More rebounds in the series, Gafford or Jaylen Brown. I'm going to go with Gafford, and hear me out on this one. So they just played Minnesota. That series, obviously, the defense was really, really good. He only played 21 minutes and he averaged 7 rebounds. Meanwhile, for Jaylen Brown, they just played an easy Pacers squad. The defense wasn't there, and he only had, 5 rebounds with an average of 41 minutes played. So the minutes are more likely going to be there for Jaylen Brown than you're thinking that. But of course, the issue here with Gafford, I know you're going to say it, is if Porzingis is in the lineup and he's healthy and he's good to go. But I do like Gafford to have more rebounds head-to-head.
You think you know me, but you don't. I wasn't going to say anything about Porzingis. I was going to comment on 2 things. Gafford's gone over 30 minutes once in 17 games this postseason. He's very effective rebounding-wise when he's in there. Something to keep in mind because you know Brown's going 40 minutes a night. Number 2, Boston, best rebounding team in the NBA this season. Right around 54% was their rebounding rate. Now, Minnesota was number 2, and he had a lot of success against them, but Boston is a very elite team on the glass.
So you like Jaylen Brown?
Oh, no, I agree with you.
You agree with everything I say?
With EKD.
He has to sit next to me every day, so that makes sense.
It makes life far easier.
All right, Tyler, what else you got for us?
Well, I got some props surrounding big names for the NBA Finals you can consider. Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Game 1 have the highest point totals for their teams, and each has a rebound prop of 9.5. Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown also have point totals for tomorrow's game over 20 points. Back here with Anita Marks. Now, we've heard your thoughts on Game 1. You like the Mavs and you like the game to go over, but what about the prop menu? What's at the top of that list?
Well, Tyler, if I like the game to go over, there's one guy who I'm expecting to really have a phenomenal night, and that is Luka. How could he not, right? He needs to set the tone early. Also, 2 games against Boston in the regular season, he went over this total at 30.5. Actually averaged 35 points a game. Cleared this line 5 of his last 7 games. Really, history in the making here in the postseason for him. I also like Derek White over his 3-point total at 2.5. I think Dallas's best defenders are going to be tasked to go up against Tatum as well as Brown. So I think he's going to get some big-time open looks. He's shooting 40% from downtown in the postseason, and not sure how many minutes KP's going to get. So he's averaging 9 3-point attempts a game without KP active and attractive. I think he gets his over 2.5 3-pointers.
The dramatics of the NBA Finals a bit more than 24 hours away. Game 1 in Boston. Celtics big man Kristaps Porzingis reiterated he would be available for Game 1, but was unsure how close to 100% he would field. Porzingis has not played since Game 4 of the first round when Boston was taking on Miami. Back with Aaron and Joe and our intrepid NBA reporter Tim Bontemps in Beantown for Game 1. So Tim, we appreciate you joining us on the show this evening. And let's start right there with KP, because I'm hearing that, or I'm asking you, I guess, what you're hearing about Boston's expectations for Porzingis. What kind of workload can we expect?
Well, that's really one of the big questions coming into this series, Tyler, is how much is Kristaps Porzingis going to be able to play 5 weeks after suffering that calf strain in Game 4 of that first round series against Miami? I asked Porzingis today if he feels like his conditioning level is where it needs to be to play normal minutes. He said he's honestly not sure because he's going to have to see how he feels in a game situation. Remember, Kristaps Porzingis has never played outside of the first round of the playoffs in his career. He's now coming back to play in Game 1 of the NBA Finals against his former team. Obviously going to be an incredibly emotional atmosphere, an incredibly emotional moment for him. Ton of energy comes along with that. Also, potentially, that energy goes away pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to see how Porzingis is able to hold up conditioning-wise throughout the game, because obviously if he can play 25, 30 minutes for Boston, that will be a huge help for the Celtics, as he can not only pull Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford away from the rim, he also can be a rim protector for the Celtics at the other end, the one place in Boston's defense that they've struggled with in these playoffs.
How significant an edge is home court advantage in the modern NBA? There's some data that suggests it's not as important as it used to be, and there's a prop over under 2.5 road wins in this series between the 2 teams. I'm curious where you stand on that.
I love the over on the prop bet between home and road in this series. That's because the Celtics have historically been a very mediocre home team the last few years in the playoffs, and they've typically been a fantastic road team. This is a Celtics team that's won a playoff series won a road playoff game in every series over the last 3 years. They've also barely been over 500 over that same span. It's why they've been able to go deep in the playoffs over and over again. We saw Dallas go into Minnesota and win in the playoffs. We saw them go into Oklahoma City and win in the playoffs. I think we'll be able to see Dallas come into here to Boston and get at least a game. And I certainly think the Celtics are more than capable of winning on the road. So I think certainly, as we've seen the three-point shot come into the league, it's obviously lowered the importance of home court advantage. And I think particularly in this series with the way the Celtics have played in the past, I really do like the over on that bet.
And Tim, we know for Dallas to have any shot in this series, obviously Luka has to be great, but also Kyrie Irving. And he's had some trouble against the Boston Celtics in the past. What players do you think might have to step up if Kyrie is neutralized by that defense?
Yeah, it's going to be one of the interesting things to watch, Aaron, to me, is what happens with Kyrie Irving in this series. Does Boston say put Jrue Holiday on Kyrie Irving and try to take him out of the series and really just make this the guys around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving making shots, guys like P.J. Washington, Derek Jones Jr., Tim Hardaway? Does Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford give them production inside? And then obviously how much can Luka give them on a nightly basis as well? So I'm interested to see what those support guys are able to do. We saw P.J. Washington in particular hit a ton of three-pointers in that second round series against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was really the reason, beyond Dallas's defense, that the Mavericks were able to win that series in advance of the conference finals. And this Celtics team is a better version of that Thunder team. So I do think if you're talking about the other guys, can P.J. Washington hit shots is going to be a key thing to watch. And otherwise, I want to really look at what the Celtics do with Kyrie Irving. And in particular, do they just put Jrue Holiday on him and say, Jrue, let's take Kyrie out of the series and make this Luka against us? I think if that happens, the Celtics will feel pretty good about their chances of winning the NBA Finals.
All right, that leads into this question regarding Luka Doncic. 16-1 to score 30 or more points in every game of the series. 16-1 converts to about a 6% probability for a guy who's done this in 8 of 17 games this postseason, which is about 45%. Do you see him having a chance at 30 points in every single game?
Well, obviously he's got a chance because he's the best player in the series. He might be the best player on the planet, but I would probably go with the under on that, both because I think Luka's a guy that obviously he takes a lot of threes. He could have a night where he just goes 2 for 10 from 3 and doesn't get the 30 points. And also, if you look at the way the Celtics are able to deploy their resources across the board, there might not be a better team in the league in terms of having multiple options to throw at Luka Doncic. You've got Jrue Holiday, who Luka's called the best defensive player in the league. You've got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, 2 long athletic forwards that can both spend time on Luka. And then you've got Al Horford, who can potentially switch on him in situations, and Derek White, who's one of the best help defenders in the league. So you put all those guys together, all the different looks they can throw at Luka, the fact that he could have an off night. Obviously, there's a reason why it's a 6% chance of happening, but I just think we're going to see him probably have one off game during the series. But if you want to tell me Luka's special 6 nights in a row or 7 nights in a row, it's hard for me to argue otherwise, given the way he's been able to play in these playoffs.
We just threw a bunch of questions at Tim Bontemps, and he handled them like Luka, trying to pick apart the Boston Celtics defense. Well done, Tim. We appreciate you getting us ready for Game 1 Thursday night in Boston.
NBA